In today's video, we're talking about 10 useful things you can learn in 2018. Hey bosses, Gertrude Nantra here. You're welcome to my channel. If you're one of my regular bosses, thank you so much for subscribing and sticking with me. If you're one of my new bosses, here's what I want you to do. Hit the subscribe button. It's super easy. You can hit it anywhere on this page, really. Just hit the button. Alright, so today I wanted to talk about 10 useful things you can learn in 2018. To be honest with you, there are always things that we can all learn to improve upon our lives, to make us better, to make us more marketable, to, that we can put on our resumes, to just make us better rounded human beings, right? And I find that a lot of these skills I'm about to share with you are also skills that are translatable, if that's a word, transferable into the freelance business world. And since on this channel I talk about setting up a freelance business so that you have more freedom and more family time, I think it's appropriate that I share some of these skills with you. Alright, so thing number one that is useful for you to learn in 2018 is how to write a better sentence. Now that seems so basic and so almost so used, like everybody who has gone to school should know how to write a sentence. This is true to an extent. You will not believe the number of grammatical mistakes of like I's that are written with like a small I, or subject and verbs which don't agree. I know my nerdiness is coming out, but learning how to write a better sentence really is a great skill that you can learn in 2018. Guess why? Because if you become a freelance writer, for instance, you need to be able to write good structured sentences. Wit is awesome and humor is great, and I'm sure you have a lot of wit and humor, but if the basic sentence is not structured correctly, that's a problem. All right, so that is number one. Number two, learning to read quicker and reading more. To be honest with you, like when people tell me that they can read a book a day, I'm always so amazed, because I definitely cannot do that. And there's so many books I've read that I never read to the very end. I think in my entire life, especially when they're non-fiction books, like I don't always read them all the way to the end. But you can learn how to read faster, and I know that there are a lot of videos right here on YouTube on how to read faster. There are a lot of skills on how you can read faster. Those skills are really useful, especially if you're a freelancer. Once again, if you're freelance writing, or if you freelance as a proofreader, or anything that has to do with written content, you're going to have to be able to read quickly so you can turn over projects quickly. Skill number three is creating super simple designs in freely available tools like Canva or Pixlr. You will not believe, the number of times I've given somebody a project and I'm like, create this in Canva for me, and they're like, how do I do that? And I realized that the basic elements of design, a lot of us lack, right? I'm not the best designer myself. You probably can tell that from the thumbnails here on my YouTube channel, but just having a basic knowledge of like colors that complement each other, text that looks great, how to not use too much text or use like 3 different fonts on the same image. Those basic things are really good to know, especially if, once again, as a freelancer, you're involved in design projects or even blog post image design or social media image design. All these are really good skills for you as a freelancer. Learning the basics of design is really important. Number 4 is how to take better photographs. So, when you go on Instagram, the people, first of all, let me just say that some people are just pros at taking pictures on Instagram, and I'm always so amazed. But a lot of those pictures, and I was surprised to learn that sometimes some of those pictures are not even necessarily taken with DSLRs. Now, let me just say that DSLR cameras are only recently becoming more and more common to regular folks like you and I. For the old school photographers, some of whom took really phenomenal photos, they used regular cameras. They even used cameras that our basic cameras are like would have been like cutting edge technology for them, and yet they were able to take amazing images. If you're going to be involved in social media in any way, you have to be able to take really good photos. And so learning how to take good pictures is a skill that you can learn, and there's so many tutorials out there that can help you do that. they can help you do so just using the basic thing like your cell phone. You don't even have to go and buy a camera. You can use your cell phone, your iPhone, your Android phone, your Windows phone. Do those still exist? All of these can be used to take amazing images that you can use if you're a social media manager. 5, the skill of starting and maintaining a conversation. I know that for a lot of us that are introverts, we don't necessarily want to talk to people. There are those of us that don't like to have conversations. We simply don't like to talk to people. We would rather stay at home and watch television than be subjected to talking to people. I totally get it. Like, I get it. Here's the thing. If you're going to build a business, you're going to have to talk to people. You're going to have to be able to start a conversation. You're going to have to be able to carry on a conversation. You should be able to, like, when somebody leaves you, that's one of my rules. Like, when somebody leaves me, they need to feel like, wow, that was such a productive conversation. And you can learn that. All these are skills that are learned. I believe that, yeah, there's some people that are naturally extroverted and are born with that gift. But then some of us have to learn, especially if your business is something where you have to talk to people and you have to interact. No, you don't have to come out of your shell all the time, but being able to start and carry on a conversation is a really important skill that you can learn. Number 6 is how not to be boring. So let me tell you that, yes, through my youth, I was a very, very boring person, especially in my teens and in my early 20s. And I didn't even realize how boring I was, right? I was extremely boring. I didn't have a lot of interesting conversations. I didn't have a lot of interesting things to tell people. And that is, once again, is a skill that we can all learn, right? We can all learn a funny joke or two. We can all learn a story. We can all better the art of storytelling. You know, when you tell stories, you make yourself interesting. But then you also have to make sure that you make your story such that it's not long-winded, all right, so that people can actually listen and get the story. When the story gets to be about 15-20 minutes, everybody begins to sleep, unless it's a super interesting story. But the art of storytelling is something that can make you super interesting, and so learning that and learning a few jokes here and there, that is an extremely valuable skill. Number 7, how to ask good questions. That's one thing I also had to learn, was how to ask good questions. And the way you ask good questions is by being a really good listener. If you listen to what the person you're having a conversation with is saying, it allows you to ask really good and insightful questions. And one of the things that has helped me a little bit is also to overcome the fear that I'm asking a stupid question. Now, sometimes when we don't listen and when we don't really listen to what the person is saying, we tend to ask questions that the person already answered, that you don't want to be like that. But of course, if you did not hear that part, you may want the person to repeat that. But you want to be able to ask questions that dig deeper, questions that allow the person that was chatting with you to shed more light on the subject, that allow the person to actually think deeper, because sometimes people don't think deeper about the things that they're talking about, and when you ask them a question, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I never thought about that. And that automatically makes you really interesting, the other one I just mentioned, because you asked a really good question. And this is an amazing soft skill to have in the workplace and also as a freelancer. Number 8, how to give a good speech. Now, I haven't given a whole lot of speeches, but as a scientist, both as a graduate and as a postdoc, I've had to give presentations, and so I have had to learn how to make my presentations a little bit more conversational, so that they're not so science is very rigid and very factual, and sometimes it can be extremely boring if you're just giving the straight facts. But if you can add a storyline to it, and it seems like story is running through everything I'm saying, but if you can run a storyline through the speech you're giving, people get hooked in, people get interested, and people get intrigued. And I learned this actually from a very well-known speaker who told me that if you want to give a good speech, learn how to tell better stories, and in your story teach a lesson. And so I remember that last year when I gave my 5-minute talk at FinCon Ignite, I did exactly that. I told a story and I pulled out lessons from that story that I use as an example to give my speech. speech, and that speech was really well received, and I was super grateful for learning that tip of telling a story and then pulling out lessons from that story as a way to give a really good speech. Number 9 is learning how to look put together. Now, I have to confess, like, I'm still learning how to look put together, but sometimes you meet people and they are a royal mess, right? But if you want to be taken seriously and you want people to, people always say, well, I don't care about how I look, but to be honest with you, like, how you look on the inside, or on the inside is important. How you look on the inside is absolutely important, but how you look on the outside is also important, because before anybody gets to see your beautiful inside, they will see your outside. And if your outside is unappealing and unattractive, and once again, this has nothing to do with beauty or, what is defined as beauty. I want to just say that. It has everything to do with carrying yourself well. It has everything to do with the way you're dressed, even the way you may be dressed for your body type. It has a lot to do with how your face is, cleaned up and put together. That we're, back in college, I didn't care that my eyebrows would be flying in this direction and this direction. I never brushed them. I didn't care. And so because of that, people didn't take me seriously. But if you want to be taken seriously, especially in situations where you have to meet with clients and you have to speak with people and you have to give speeches, it's important to look put together. And so just learning how to look put together and how to look presentable and appealing on the outside is a really good thing for you to learn. Last but not least, learn how to use an image editor or creator that is not Canva or Pixlr. So Canva is super easy, right? Like, we all go in there and we create super easy images, and they even have templates that you can use easy. But I think that if you can learn Pixlr is a Photoshop like tool that you can learn, and it's online and it's absolutely free. In fact, I use that a lot for my image creation, because I do not have Photoshop and the Adobe products fairly expensive. If you don't mind paying for a monthly subscription for them, absolutely. But for me, I'm just like, I can use Pixlr right now. When the time comes for me to get Photoshop, I will buy Photoshop. But yeah, learning how to use tools like Photoshop or Pixlr or Illustrator, this all adds to your arsenal of skills that are marketable, that you can, even within my profession as a scientist right now, there are times where I use Illustrator to edit images to make them look super presentable for published papers. And so, if I didn't know that skill, then it would be a hard thing for me to do. I wouldn't be able to accomplish my tasks. And so being able to learn image creators and image editors that are not Canva is also a really important skill. And last but not least, the skill that I'm going to share with you is skill number 11. I know I said 10, but I wanted to share this with you, is learning how to read your accounting sheet. All right. So if you're going to be freelancing, you'll be getting payments, right? One of my biggest recommendations for keeping your accounts all together is Wave apps, and I did this video on how I invoice my clients. I pair two tools, PayPal and Wave apps, and that is what I use to bill my clients or invoice my clients, and then also do my accounting. You have to learn how to read your own accounting sheets. You have to learn how to, make sure that you are tracking everything with every quarter, paying your taxes, blah blah blah, all that fancy stuff. So make sure that you familiarize yourself with really simple business terms that have to do with accounting, so that you're not losing money and you're not just running like a hamster on a wheel, not going anywhere with your income. So that's an extra skill that I'll recommend that you learn this year. All right, guys, so there you have it, 10 plus 1 skills that you can learn in 2018 that will make you a super better person. And all of these are skills that you can learn in the next 30 to 90 days. They don't take years to learn. They just take a few weeks and months. Some of them may take you at most a year, but they're all skills that you can learn within the next year that will improve your life greatly. If you liked this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and also let me know, like, did you like this video? Leave me a comment below and let me know which one of these skills you will be picking up, or if there's another skill. Of course, I didn't list all the skills in this video, but if there's another skill that you're picking up and learning this year, leave it in the comments below. I want to hear from you. I respond to all the comments that show up on this channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and please do check out my other videos on this channel. I really appreciate you doing that. Thank you, and God bless.